Hi, my name is Matt Williams, and I'm here reviewing the Canon 5D Mark IV for Camera Ambassador. This camera has been so debated online, it's crazy. People talking about how the 4K, the crop factor of 1.7 on this camera is just destroyed the 4K, made it unusable and all this and that. And I lean towards agreeing with that a little bit. But does that make this a useless camera? Does that make this a camera that doesn't work for anybody? Or does that make this a camera that's more specific for a niche? Well, I did a bunch of testing. I did 9 other videos that you can find that we're going to be putting out in the next couple of days, and you can go and check out each one of those. One of my favorite things that I found with this camera was its autofocus ability when you're in live view. Oh my God, immediately changed my thinking on what the 5D Mark IV is going to bring to anybody and everybody else. So this camera, yes, let's get it out of the way. The 4K, we don't really want to mess around with that. The other thing too is that there are a lot of features on this camera that are new, but not all of them are necessarily beneficial immensely from the outset. So we have this feature on this camera where we can actually connect to our iPhone. We can actually connect or to your Samsung Galaxy 7 or to whatever it is you want to use. But you can wirelessly connect to this. What does this mean now? Now this means that if you're on a small crew shoot, you already have this monitor just for the director where he can watch it and he can say, okay, I like this movement. And then as you do it, you can go back and do it again. Okay, why don't you pause there a little bit longer and wait for her to come out, and he can see it. And there's none of this, trying to watch the screen at the same time or hooking up other cables to it that you really don't need to be doing. So this is a benefit, right? I mean, not the first thing that we thought of. We thought of at first, I can control my camera with my phone. But you kind of got to look at the way the technology has been presented to you in a little bit of a different way. Another example for this is that there's no C-Log on this camera. Why doesn't it have C-Log? Why does this camera that's $3,500 not have C-Log? Because it's a DSLR. It doesn't have C-Log because it's a DSLR. This is a photography/cinema hybrid camera. It is not a camera that is meant to be used for full feature movies. Even though people can do it, it doesn't mean that that's what its intended purpose is for. But we're going to find all of those little exploits and we're going to use the crap out of all of them. One of them is something that Technicolor produced. Have you ever seen a movie? At the end of the credits, there's a credit that comes up and it says Technicolor. Technicolor color grades all massive movies. For the most part, it's a generalization, but for the most part, they color grade pretty much every movie that gets thrown up onto a big screen. They are an incredible company that really knows light, really knows color, and really understands how these two things combined impact the sensor. And so they're the perfect candidate to make a CineStyle color profile that is supposed to be the free download of C-Log. So this is a free profile that you can install, and we're going to be having more videos come out, and as they do, you'll be able to see exactly how to go do this. It's really easy, and I'm going to show you its step-by-step process. Once you install it and you see it on your camera, you're not going to know really what to do with that because it's something you've never seen before come out of a DSLR, and I was incredibly happy to check that out. So what about other things? We have other issues that people say about record formats and how long your video can be recorded for until it's broken into different size files, and every 4 gigs I have a new file, and now I have 3 of these cameras and I'm shooting one thing, and we were shooting for an hour, and now I have 60. Creators can do math, right? We can do it. Just not interested in the math portion of it right now. But what you can do is you can format your SD cards and your CF cards as exFAT. And what that'll be able to do is that'll allow you to be able to record an entire video for 30 minutes, actually 29 minutes and 59 seconds before it stops and the camera shuts down, and then you got to go again. But the fact that we're able to record files that are over 4 gigabytes, oh, thank God we can do it, because if we couldn't, that might be a deal breaker. But there's a workaround for it, so we're set. So again, who is this for? Because like I said, it's not really for somebody who wants to do full-blown cinema 100% of the time. This is more of a camera for somebody who's dipping into a little bit of both, right? What about documentaries? What about a documentary filmmaker? Is this a camera for a documentary filmmaker? Well, I think it definitely could be. See, I shoot with a C100 primarily, and I do that because of the XLR inputs I have on the top handle, because I can break that thing down completely, drop it into a Pelican case with all of its attachments, and have no problem stowing it overhead as I fly. I'm able to have internal ND, which is awesome, and a shame that we can't put that on to DSLR cameras yet. So is this a 4K camera? Can I create a 4K film on this? Yes, you can. Should you? Probably not, because it's going to give you such a big headache of, oh, wait, I thought we had a 16mm lens. Why is this so much closer? You're going to have a bunch of headaches, but you can do it. I would recommend use the capabilities of this camera that it has in 1080p. I don't see a ton of 4K videos on YouTube that I'm going to download, and yes, you can downscale it, and yes, that helps, I get it. My point is, if you better yourself as a cinematographer, this tool will be enough for you to be able to create your feature or your short or your documentary or whatever it is that you want to be able to create. But you have to invest in yourself, because this camera does not do well when it's been overexposed. So if the camera gets overexposed, that's on you for not exposing the camera properly. So you need to make sure that your camera is seeing the right amount of light. Now, we have a few ways to be able to control this, and we're not going to get into how to set up your video camera right now, but we're going to do quite a bit of that in these next upcoming videos. One of the great things about this camera is you have the ability to be able to have the best autofocus system that I've seen ever. I've never seen a better one. This autofocus system, while you're shooting video, you can touch it on the back LCD to be able to pull your focus, which is awesome if you're on a tripod. But if you don't have a tripod and you're shooting while you're running a Steadicam, or if you're going handheld and you don't want to be touching as you're shooting and everything, you can have your director or somebody else who's holding their iPhone pull focus by selecting the face and having the camera follow the face. The face is recognized on the camera understands it's looking at a face, okay? That's pretty cool. Now, yes, we've had that on the iPhone for a while, but they're hardcore innovators, and it's not likely to be able to see innovation on that magnitude always brought to us so quickly. But the fact that you can be able to just have somebody's face in the frame, and if their face is in the frame, it can stay in focus, is incredible. This camera is also not for somebody who's looking to do a bunch of high-speed cinematography. If you're looking to do action with this thing, you're gonna be disappointed, because this is not an action camera. An action camera is something that you would want to use that has a much higher frame rate and is able to actually still maintain 1080p at least with doing 120 frames per second. This camera does not do that. Also, just a shout out to anybody who's experimenting with their 5D Mark IV while they're on set. If you set this thing to high speed enabled, which is the 120 frames per second, and then you take it off of it, don't expect to be shooting in 24 or 23:9:7, because you're not. It's going to automatically change your shooting structure back to 60 frames per second 1080p, which I don't know why it does that. I don't know why, but that's the default that it goes back to, so be very careful with that. Always remember, after you do your high-speed shots, to be able to switch back to another format that's not even associated to what you were just shooting in, because that was 720p. Now, can you shoot an entire feature-length film on this camera? Of course you can. The 4K, it's not so great. Get off of it. It doesn't matter. The fact is, not many people are watching 4K videos on YouTube. So if you don't have a camera that has the ability to do 4K and you're freaking out and you're waiting for permission to just be like, I just wish it was okay. Granted, okay? Chill out. 4K, although it is very evident, is not as prevalent as manufacturers would like us to believe. Yes, it's incredible to be able to take a 4K video and then downsize it and compress it. I'm shooting 4K right now because I want to have that ability to be able to compress a 4K video down to 1080. And in doing that, I can be able to get a better image. But that's because I'm utilizing my tools to the best of my abilities. How do you do that personally? Well, I would suggest you personally do that by working with this camera and learning this camera to the best of your ability. You have to be able to be willing to be able to look at where is your camera at and where are you at. And if you can find something that is going to be able to match your skill level, that's cool. But if you can find something that's a bit above your skill level, then you have something to work to. Unfortunately, we can't all afford a red weapon or, something like that. But if you're willing to be able to put the time and the effort and the energy that it takes into learning how to light well and how to run separate audio, then you'll be set. This camera is not for anybody who does not care to do lighting control. This camera does not do well in post when you try to start crushing those whites and bring them back down. Because what happens is you start getting this weird texture going on in the face that's just not natural. Even in the HDR shooting and even in the CineStyle color profile, and even both of them together, which oddly looks very weird, you're looking at an image that, if overexposed, you're not going to recover it. You can pull back a bit on the C100 series. You can pull back a lot on RE cameras. You can pull back a lot on RED cameras, even on Blackmagic cameras. You can't pull back on this camera because it's a DSLR. When the 5D Mark II came out, it was, oh my God, this is crazy. There was so much innovation because you were able to do something that you had never really been able to do on any other camera before. It was never available to us to be able to go out and be able to create like this. The problem when you go ahead and you create something that is so revolutionary is 5 seconds after somebody has it in their hands, they go, that's cool. What are you gonna do next? And you can only innovate that hard so many times, especially with a camera that is a DSLR. And you're trying to do pro video and you're trying to do pro photo with it, and not necessarily in that order. So how do we make this camera function in the way that we want it to? Well, for starters, you need to know how to light. You need to know how to light your subjects so that you're not overexposing them. You need to know what you're looking for. It doesn't just come down to, oh, are the zebras peeking? Nope, guess we're fine. You want to be able to create a depth of field. You want to be able to create depth and intensity with lighting. So if you know how to light, if you can light, or if you want to take the time to figure it out, then this might be a good camera for you if you're thinking about making a documentary with a very small crew. See, one of the great things about this camera is, and its whole legacy too, is that I created a feature-length film, a feature-length documentary with the 5D Mark II. This would have been so much better to be able to create that on. Being able to follow somebody's face, being able to, have a C-Log profile, C-Log-like profile, I should say, before everybody goes crazy on Twitter. But this is an incredible camera. It's not a video camera, though. So if you want one of those, I would highly suggest you go out and pick up a C100 or a C300. But it's not a full-scale production camera, and we have to stop thinking about it like it is. This is a camera that you need to use and learn and innovate on. So while this might be one of the best photography cameras that's on our market right now, it's definitely not the best cinema camera. But if you're a hybrid shooter, if you go from one to the other, a lot of times like I do, then this might be perfect for you. This camera, for the right person, might be a godsend. So how do you know if this is the camera for you? Well, if you're shooting a documentary or a drama or a comedy, or if you're shooting anything and you have a very small crew, this might be a good camera for you. You can also be able to take this camera anywhere. It's a stealth camera, okay? I mean, this thing, if you take it into a place where it says videos aren't allowed, I'm not saying to go in there and press the little red record button, it's not red, but whatever, the start stop button, and start filming. But if you were to do that, you could get away with it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. The other thing that I love about this camera is it's very lightweight, which means that you can take it and you can drop it on a low-level Ronin, you can put it on the Movies, you can put it on basically any camera balancing situation that you need to that's a lower budget, because it's lightweight and lower budget stabilization systems are not meant to balance higher weight cameras. The other thing about this too is that it'll also keep your costs down because you don't have a massive package here. What you have is a small camera. And with this, I have a 24 to 70 on here right now. I could do an entire feature with this. I know that I could do that. It would be very difficult and it would be painstakingly annoying at some points, but I know that I could do that. And it would be painstakingly annoying at some points because that's what it's like shooting a feature. You have to have some workarounds to be able to do some things. We need to come to grips with the fact that this is a DSLR. It's not a cinema camera. But if you take your time and you think out your shots and you plan for them and you light them well, then you'll be able to utilize this camera to give you a great looking film. People don't take DSLR cinematographers super seriously. Now, the great Shane Hurlbut has changed that for people, a lot of people, including myself. When he did Act of Valor on a 5D Mark II and Canon 7Ds, it blew everybody away. They said, yeah, but you can't put it on a 50-foot screen. And he's like, and he did it. That was incredible. Anytime that I see that movie, it just makes me remember that we're all cinematographers and it doesn't matter your tools that you have. It matters how you use them. But it does matter how you spend your money. So make sure that this is a right camera for you. I hope you've enjoyed my overview of the 5D Mark IV. Love this camera. It's not for me personally, but it might be for you. It might not be, but it might be for you. So my point is, always check out cameras before you go ahead and invest in them, more than just listening to me or listening to somebody else or watching a test of, a nature landscape. We don't usually shoot nature landscapes, we usually shoot people. So try to look what people look like on a camera. How does the light touch their skin? How does it go through their hair? And how does the camera perceive what's going on when somebody moves across the image, when they look into the lens? Look at stuff like that, because we're looking at cameras specs only and expecting that to tell us everything, when really it doesn't. We're a generation of people who came up saying that SATs suck, man, they don't tell you anything about me. And then all we do is look at the stats on everything. So do yourself a favor, and before you buy not just this camera or another camera or GH4 or anything like that, rent it out, try it out, and see what it looks like on people. Enjoy using the camera or hate using the camera, and then work it a little longer and then send it back. Then decide if you want to be able to buy that camera or not. It's much better than deciding, you know what, I saw a good review on it and this one does high speed footage and I'm shooting a documentary, so I need to be able to shoot at 10,000 frames per second. No, that's you need to be able to apply what the camera can do to you. So here's how this works. I do this overview, we're gonna put this out, and after this overview is out, 9 other videos are gonna be coming out about this camera and how to do specific cool things on it. If you like this video, if you like this camera, or if you hate this camera's evil. It's an evil camera. Write us a comment in the comment section and let us know what you thought of the video. Let us know what you think of the 5D Mark IV, and let us know if you shot a project on this. We want to watch it. We want to check it out. I want to see how people are lighting for this camera. I really enjoy watching things like that. I hope you enjoyed watching my video. Thanks. See ya.